It appears that former President Barack Obama, who normally says he wants to stay out of primary politics, has one condition: if Bernie Sanders starts to win. Mm. So now, this is according to an article in Politico written by Ryan Lizza. So now, the new report detailed meetings and discussions that nearly all Democratic presidential candidates had with Obama since as they seek the party's nomination. So, what's been happening in this article, or pointed out in the article, and it's actually super gross. Most of the candidates would meet with President Obama uh, and basically at his office and get his blessing, essentially. Ask him for advice on how to run for president. All right. So now what's interesting about that is that pretty much all the main establishment candidates, of course, went there. And you also had Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders that asked Obama, that met with Obama. So the only two that didn't show up are Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard. And so, look, those two, they're obviously the outsiders, right? And both of them have good ideas. Both of them also do things that, or have issues that I disagree with them on. But look, they're the outsiders, right? But this makes me respect them more because they are not kissing the ring. Okay. So that, I mean, again, I don't, it makes me uncomfortable that Bernie Sanders had, is involved in that as well. Full disclosure, I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter. I support Bernie Sanders. I will vote for Bernie Sanders in the primary, right? And I basically, basically have endorsed him many, many times in the show when I said that he's my guy. That said, I don't like that he took part in this, and I'm keeping it 100, right? And so anyway, so now this entire meeting, these entire meetings with the establishment candidates, of course, are basically about kissing the ring. Wonderful example about what's wrong with the current Democratic Party, because that's what they do. And besides, why would anybody need to have Obama's advice? Oh, but Jeff, you understand, he won election twice, so that obviously he has some very important insights. Well, how so? How so? Um, he campaigned as a progressive. He campaigned to the left of Hillary Clinton, which is not hard to get there, but and obviously was to the left of John McCain. So look, okay, so you campaign as a progressive, but you govern as a centrist moderate, and so okay, as a result of this and his hands-off approach, and that was one of the biggest complaints during the Obama presidency, is by the way, is that he would never get involved, never ever get involved. He wouldn't walk the picket lines. He'd always be above it all. No drama, Obama, right? Not involved, not concerned at all what's going on. Well, that cost him, that attitude cost over 1,000 seats for Democrats all across the country because Obama wouldn't get involved. And so, why does Bernie, why does Warren need his advice at all? That's my question, right? Uh, all right. Now, I can understand Buttigieg. I can understand Klobuchar. I can understand Beto. Well, when Beto was in Harris, etc. Right? But okay. Anyway, none of that. I mean, that's just my personal nitpick with the whole thing. But uh, let's go to more in this article. Okay, so Liza then describes Obama's preferred role in the primary as providing, quote, guardrails to keep the process from getting too ugly and to unite the party when the nominee is clear. Now, okay, guardrails, right? To prevent it. Okay, look, I guess that's not a bad thing. Like, hey, remember, the whole goal here is to nominate somebody, and this is the establishment thing. We want to nominate somebody who's going to beat Donald Trump. And of course, by that, they mean somebody who's part of the centrist Democratic Party. And as the article further goes into, based on interviews with multiple Obama advisors, Bernie Sanders is a potential exception. He said when Sanders was seen as a bigger threat to win the nomination, which, hey, you might want to check the polls, right? Because he's actually doing really well. He's basically leading in New Hampshire, and he's doing very well in some of these early states and has excellent national polling. It's in second now. Obama privately vowed to break his public pledge not to intervene in the primary and speak out to stop Sanders from winning, according to the report. Now, a spokesperson for Obama did not deny the comment, but pointed to Obama's recent remark that he would support whoever the nominee turns out to be. Quote, I can't really confirm that. He hasn't said that directly to me. The only reason I'm hesitating at all is because, yeah, if Bernie were running away with it, that's if Democratic primary voters were lining up behind Bernie Sanders, then Obama, well, he says, this close advisor to Obama said, I think maybe we would all have to say something. So if the Democratic voters were in favor of Bernie Sanders, these guys would come in and say, oh, no, hey, whoa, what are you guys doing? You can't vote for that guy. But he added, quote, I don't think that's likely. It's not happening. Meaning Bernie Sanders running away with the nomination. This is establishment 101. Oh, Bernie Sanders, he'll never win the nomination. No, we got great people like Mayor Pete Buttigieg. And look, this is the establishment advisors. Obama actually has his own thoughts on a lot of these candidates, which is interesting / not good for some of these candidates or the entire field if you're looking for the coveted Obama endorsement or even support, right? But I love the casual dismissal of Bernie Sanders. No, he doesn't even have a shot. That's why there's not a lot of attacks. There's attacks on Bernie Sanders. Let's be real about that, right? Tons of attacks on Bernie Sanders. But this is why they never take him seriously, though. They just don't. And so that's why every pundit sits there and laughs and scoffs at the idea that Bernie Sanders could actually win the nomination or even the general election. And this is why, of course, they go back to the electability argument, right? Oh, Bernie Sanders, he'll never win it. But even if he does, which will never happen, we got to stop him because he's not electable. And if he does start to do really well, well, then we're going to make sure that Bernie Sanders does not win. Man. Look, asked about the remark, a close friend of Obama's told Liza, by the way, that, quote, Bernie's not a Democrat. Look, Bernie Sanders is a Democrat. He's a traditional Democrat. He's an FDR Democrat, bringing it back to its roots, right? It's what the party used to be. Now, he couldn't be, he ran as an independent in Vermont. And that's because the Democratic Party's essentially left him. They're not what they used to be. They are the corporate establishment now. So now, one other thing here, which is interesting. Now, Elizabeth Warren also is in here, right? And part of the story. And there's actually a big difference between Obama's reaction to Warren versus Sanders. Now, Obama told aides while he was still in office that he would not like Elizabeth Warren because he would see Warren's rise as a, quote, repudiation of him and his economic policies, otherwise known as his legacy, right? That's what this is. He's worried about his legacy. That's apparently all that seems to motivate him. And that's really, really sad because, look, I supported Obama. I voted for Obama twice. I defended him throughout his presidency. But in reality, you have to look at the situation and look at what he's doing. And he has been aloof above it all, except when it comes to his legacy. Bernie Sanders winning the nomination and going on to win the presidency would mean the end of his legacy. And what's his big accomplishment? The ACA, the Obamacare, right? The Affordable Care Act. And Bernie Sanders says, well, let's go to a Medicare for all system, right? Well, that would essentially mean the end of the ACA and the introduction of something way, way better. The expansion of Medicare. And so what does that do for Obama's legacy? It eliminates it. It's gone now. And we can't have that, right? We're not in favor of that. And Elizabeth Warren, again, would do, two different bills. The the Medicare for All expansion. That would be the second bill, Medicare for All. The first would be a public option, right, under the Medicare brand. And so that's something that Obama wasn't able to do either. Now, the way that she frames it is, it's Medicare for all, it's single payer, it's not the ACA, right? Now, Buttigieg and a lot of the others, Klobuchar, et cetera, they're all talking about, we do a public option, but we would do expand the ACA. We would keep Obamacare and then just open up a public option so that people could buy into it. But we're going to keep Obamacare. And Obama looks at that and says, my legacy is safe. My legacy is safe. And there it is. So, he's so worried about that. More worried about that than anything else. Now, he also said that Democrats should not be deluded that resistance to bold ideas would simply melt away. Obviously. Look, there's this big misunderstanding of Sanders supporters, right? They think that, day one, Bernie Sanders is going to wave a magic wand and we're going to have Medicare for all. And we're going to have free college, etc. No. The reason that we stick with Bernie is not because we believe that he's going to immediately or get what, we all want, right? The reason that we stick with Bernie is that he will fight for what we want. He will fight to bring us Medicare for all. Even if everything is stacked against us, he'll fight. That's something Obama never did. Obama never sat there and fought for these things. Again, I remember Obama saying, I will put on my walking shoes and I will go to Wisconsin and I will fight against right to work. Did Obama put on the walking shoes? Did he walk with the unions? No, he didn't walk with the people. And Wisconsin ended up, and Michigan got right to work. Courtesy of the right-wing government, and no word from Obama. None. Not at all interested in getting involved in these fights. Whereas Bernie Sanders, even while campaigning and working, he finds time to join the picket lines. We know that he would fight for us. That's the reason we support Bernie. That's the reason we do not support the corporate Democrats. We respect people that are on the ground. That's also why people are very skittish about Elizabeth Warren. She wasn't there at Standing Rock. She wasn't there on all these on-the-ground fights. And so that's why we don't support people like that. Because we know, we can see how you have fought for the movement instead of fought against the movement. And that's unfortunately what Barack Obama is currently doing. He is against the movement. It's amazing how, in 10 years, he went from yes, we can to no, you don't. And that's what's going on here. In fact, he said the nation is, quote, less revolutionary than it is interested in improvement. A little bit of tweaks around the edges. Let's not rock the boat. Let's not do too much change. Just a little bit. Just a tiny, tiny bit. And make sure not to mess with my legacy. This coming from a guy who ran on hope and change. Well, we didn't have your change. There's the same old establishment. There's a lot more interesting stuff here, including about other politicians getting into this. But the whole point is that they're having these secret Stop Bernie meetings, right? And plans. Pete Buttigieg was part of a secret meeting to stop Bernie Sanders. And now, of course, you have Barack Obama, who, again, the hypocrisy here is, well, I won't, get involved in the primary at all. I won't speak out against Donald Trump and some of his most disastrous policies. I'm going to try to stay above it all, unless someone runs like Bernie Sanders and starts to win and threatens my legacy. That's the only time that I'm ever going to get involved. Absolute, complete hypocrisy. It's disgusting what we're seeing here from the so-called hope and change candidate. But as we all know, Barack Obama was bait and switch. Campaigned like a progressive, but governed, again, as a centrist. He got 96% of the Bush tax cuts. I'm sorry, 94% of the Bush tax cuts permanent. That's something that nobody else could do. Not even George W. Bush. This is a guy who, look, this is who Obama is. Okay. He's just another, unfortunately, he's just another tool of the establishment. And a nice face for the boot that's crushing you. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.